because of my responsibilities in surveillance as a otherwise normal security specialist, I was showed this technology at work. And it was through the perspective, of course, of the camera, and what I was told that it was obvious it was being used through the eyes of the target. So I have seen it, and it is absolutely remarkable. It's just like a first-person, video game or something where you see right through the eyes of the individual.
All right, everybody, I wanted to go through this patent and just kind of give you a little bit of the details on how this technology works. In the TI community, a lot is said regarding the technology and how the technology specifically targets the central nervous system. So I want to look at it along the lines of this patent. This patent is number 6506148B2. It was released on January 14th, 2003. The title is Nervous System Manipulation by Electromagnetic Fields from Monitors. And looking over at the abstract, basically gives the insight on the patent itself. It says, physiological effects have been observed in human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with a certain frequency near half hertz to 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. And it goes on to say, skipping down there, it is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of a subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby computer, TV monitor, or set. So they're able to use a nearby TV monitor or set. It goes on to say, for the latter, the image pulsing may be embedded in the program material, or it may be overlaid by modulating a video stream, either as an RF signal or as a video signal. Now, in order to really kind of show how that works, at least in theory, I wanted to kind of show the physiology of the nervous system. This is a rendition, a 3D model of the nervous system. And you can see here there are bones, there's the central vertebrae, and you can see all the yellow, what looks like stringy substance that represents the nervous system. Going back to the patent, the background for the invention, it says, the invention relates to the stimulation of the human nervous system by an electromagnetic field applied externally to the body. A neurological effect of the electric field has been mentioned by Weiner, 1958, in a discussion of the bunching of brain waves through nonlinear interaction. So essentially, there are electric stimulations that are applied to the outer part of the skin at the area of the parietal lobe in the head, and it produces a corresponding effect inside the brain. The patent goes on to read, in those three electric stimulation methods, the external electric field is applied predominantly to the head so that electric currents are induced in the brain in the physical manner governed by electrodynamics. And that's what I want to kind of show here in this sort of 3D model. You can see the electric stimulation applied to the area of the parietal lobe at the top part of the head. Very low frequency or low electric current that's applied to the top part of the head. The patent goes on to read, certain cutaneous receptors may be stimulated and they would provide a signal input into the brain along the natural pathways of the afferent nerves. It has been found that indeed physiological effects can be induced in that manner. Now, I want to show here, this is the skin. There are 7 layers. There's the outer layer here, and you can see it highlighted in blue. And then the second layer just below the outer dermis level. That's the second layer. Then there's a third layer just below that. You can see it highlighted there in the blue. And then, believe it or not, there's a fourth layer that's intertwined in the third and the fifth layer. And then finally the fifth layer, and that's beneath. You can see it highlighted there. And then the sixth layer there. Now, the cutaneous receptors are just below that, and I'm going to highlight it here so that you can see it. But as I rotate it, you can see now that seventh layer is right there, and you can see those cutaneous sensors there, or nerve endings, I'll say. They're highlighted in blue there, and that's what the patent's referring to. So this area right in here is probably the most crucial part to this, because this sort of explains what electronic harassment is and how it's done remotely. Again, it says certain cutaneous receptors may then be stimulated, and they would provide a sensory input into the brain along the natural paths of the afferent nerve. It goes on to say the observed effects include ptosis of the eyelids, relaxation, drowsiness, the feeling of pressure at the center spot on the lower edge of the brow, seeing moving patterns of dark purple and greenish yellow with the eyes closed, and a tonic smile, a tense feeling in the stomach, and loose stools, and sexual excitement depending on the precise frequency used and the skin area to which the fields are applied. All right, so I want to kind of talk a little bit about ptosis of the eyelid. You'll hear some TIs talk about that. And what is ptosis? Ptosis is a Greek word. It simply means to fall, and it simply essentially means a falling or drooping of the eyelids. When we look at the anatomy, there are muscles govern the eyelids, and when there's a problem with those particular muscles, you'll have that sort of drooping or falling of the eyelids. It could be a muscular problem, or it could be a sensory input problem from the brain. And that can also be artificially stimulated, as it states here in this patent. Going back to the patent now, it goes on to say that in addition to ptosis of the eyelids, it talks about a tense feeling in the stomach, it talks about sudden loose stool, and a sexual excitement depending on the precise frequency used and the skin area to which the field is applied. These physiological effects can be artificially stimulated remotely. Now, as we look at the eyes, I want to go back and talk a little bit about the eyes and basic physiological principles in the eye. There are blood vessels. You can see them in blue and red. You can also see the nerves in gold. And I have the light blue highlighted to demonstrate what nerves actually are the result of the functioning of the eyes, the eyelids in particular. For the sake of time, I'm kind of skipping through the patent, but it goes on to state here that it has been found that the residents can be excited not only by externally applied pulsed electric fields, as discussed in U.S. patent number 5782874 and 922 and 744 and 304, but also by pulse magnetic fields, as described in U.S. patent number 054, I'm just reading the last three numbers, and number 333, and by weak heat pulses as applied to the skin, as discussed in U.S. patent number 481 and 994, and by subliminal acoustic pulses, as described in U.S. patent number 302. And again, I'm going to be going through these patents in the near future. Since the resonance is excited through the sensory pathways, it is called a sensory resonance. In addition to the resonance near half hertz, a sensory resonance has been found near 2.4 hertz. The latter is characterized by the slowing of certain cortical processes, as discussed in patent number 481, patent number 302, patent number 922, patent number 744, 944, and 304. Now again, I'm going to be going through these patents. I'm going to break this video up into 3 parts because it's just too long to try to go through all of this and then show how these work, at least in my research. So I'm going to break it up. In part 2, I'm going to talk a little bit about the heat sensory pulses, and we're going to look a little bit more at the electric and magnetic pulses and how they can be measured on a monitor. The one thing about electromagnetic fields is it's really hard to pick up those fields unless you have a monitor. So I'm going to show you that in upcoming videos. Before I close, though, I do want to read this last portion on the last page. It says this: certain monitors can emit electromagnetic field pulses that excite a sensory resonance in a nearby subject through image pulses that are so weak as to be subliminal. Now, here's where I believe it connects to the TI community. These inventions are used nefariously to target people. It goes on to say, this is unfortunate since it opens up a way for mischievous application of the invention whereby people are exposed unknowingly to manipulation of their nervous systems for someone else's purposes. Such application would be unethical and is, of course, not advocated. It is mentioned here in order to alert the public to the possibility of covert abuse that may occur while being online or while watching TV, a video, or a DVD. Now, this technology came out in 2003. Since then, I'm sure it has been upgraded. I'm sure they can not only utilize TV monitors and video monitors, but they can also utilize cell phones. They can utilize cell signals, cell towers, and even satellites. And this is unfortunate because some kind of way this should be governed. This should be regulated so that it is not used nefarious. It is not used in a covert manner to abuse people. So this is the reason why I'm making this video. I'm hoping that you come back for part 2. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can get the update on all of these patents, because I'm going to go through each one and I'm going to show you how this technology is available and it is being used, and it's being used on a lot of people in the TI community.